Welcome to the third day of the 50-day proven email breakdown challenge that I'm doing. Today is the 24th of February 2022, and unfortunately this is a very sad day because by this time you've probably heard that Russia invaded Ukraine. It seems like a full-scale invasion, and I don't want to make this video political, but it's the big elephant in the room that I wanted to address because everyone's attention today is going to be focused on this. So I just want to say that if you or one of your relatives or friends or family members or anything like that is involved in this conflict in any way, shape, or form, I wish you the best. I wish you safety, and just stay safe, take care of yourself, and hopefully the conflict will get a peaceful resolution as quickly as possible, because it's really terrible what's happening. And I've been following the situation for some time, for months, and since I'm a copywriter, since I'm involved in understanding how people make decisions and how the human mind works, and including how propaganda works and how persuasion psychology works, it's definitely something really unsettling. And the thing that President Putin is doing is a great example of how to manipulate a lot of feelings and a lot of things in a way that establishes him as kind of like this figure who's actually hurt, but in fact he is the aggressor. Anyway, I don't want to make it so political, but it's something that's been in my mind a lot lately, and that's the reason why I chose an email for today that deals with a similar topic. It talks about beliefs, and it's an email from John Carlton. Most of you have probably heard about John Carlton. He's one of the best copywriters of all time. He was the right-hand man of Gary Halbert for some time, and he's also called one of the most ripped-off copywriters of all time. And he has definitely a very distinctive tone and a distinctive voice. So I got this email last year in June, actually, because I'm subscribed to his list. You should be too, because it's really good. And it's a great example of a nurturing email that he just sends his email subscribers from time to time. Teaching mostly. So it's a value-based email that's teaching something useful, and it teaches people about belief shifting. And I think this email itself is a belief shifting email itself, because as you're reading your false beliefs about persuasion will also change based on what John is going to teach us here. So 95% of the email is actually content, but there is a soft pitch at the end. This is it in the PS. It's just one or two paragraphs if you also want to take this one as part of it. But still, it's a pretty effective email because what it does is that it builds relationships with subscribers, it reframes beliefs, and it basically seeds the idea of the sale. And the topic is very timely, and that's why I wanted to include it today of all days, is because oftentimes, how propaganda works and how people make decisions, including decision makers, including, irrational actors or rational actors, it doesn't matter. How they make decisions is based on their true beliefs. And it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's true to them. It's a subjective truth. And no matter how much proof you try to bring up to counter those beliefs, in some cases, it's just not going to work because it's already people's established belief, and there's not much you can do about it, unfortunately. And this drives their behavior, and these things often result in unfortunate events like what's happening today. And obviously, when it comes to war, there's a lot of propaganda, often on both sides. But I've been, studying how both sides message about this, and it has some surprising copywriting lessons, that's for sure. So yeah, hopefully you're gonna enjoy this email, and hopefully you don't mind that I also had a little tangent in the beginning, but because it's really on my mind. But let's just get into the email. Before I do that, obviously, if you're new here, just subscribe to the channel. I'm breaking down these emails every single day nowadays, I also did a 100-day proven sales letter breakdown challenge that you're gonna find a link to in the description. And also just leave a comment with what you think. Well, maybe not about this situation, or maybe not too political or something. I don't want to make this whole discussion very very political, but yeah, let me know, like, how do you feel actually about this whole thing? I'm curious to know. But let's jump into the email. It's not that long. It's like 300 words, 350 words or something. And the writing is top notch here. Like John Carlton, amazing writer. One of the first things that you discover here is that the email jumps right into the action. There's no hi subscriber name or something like that. It just says, here's something top marketers know that most civilians don't. Look at this, like it has kind of like a secret lead to it. It's like top marketers, they probably know the secret, and most civilians don't. And I like this civilian, I like the word civilian here because it establishes kind of like an us versus them mentality. So most people who are reading this, who are subscribed to John's list, they're probably marketers and copywriters and higher level persuasion experts. So they consider themselves as part of this amazing group, like marketers. And this kind of appeals to their ego a little bit, but also it's a great way to set up a message that's going to be interesting. Also the subject line, basically it has a contrasting element, like truth versus beliefs, part 1. So it's kind of like it teases something interesting and it has a lot of curiosity as well. So the email continues. The average prospect's daily actions, eating, buying, loving, hating, grooming, working, all of it, are based on beliefs which they regard as true. So what's going on here? We have a little bit of contextualization, which basically means that we have a higher level idea, but John immediately gives us specific examples because the prospect's daily actions, some people might not know what this is referring to exactly. So he brings up a few examples: eating, buying, loving, hating, grooming. Basically, this makes it easier to understand the message. And there's also a key lesson here, which is, that's why this is a value-based email, is because people value their beliefs as true, subjectively. They don't value facts, not solid info based on deep research. They rely on what they believe to be true. So this is also contextualization, in my opinion, and it's a great way to set up the main point of this email, which is like, there's a huge difference between what people believe and what's actually true. And it's the same thing, and that's how it ties into my introduction to this video, actually. There's a huge difference between what some people believe and what's actually true. Sometimes they're just looking for truth or facts that underline their subjective truth. And that's the basis of propaganda, basically. So the email continues, and you better grok this. This grok is an interesting word. It basically means better understand this if you want to communicate with, sell to, or persuade folks in any way. And then there's a timeless lesson again. As irrational and unfounded in reality as many of these belief systems can be, they become unshakable foundations for all behavior, thought, and decisions in the majority of people's minds. So this is the core lesson of this email, I think, and that's why it's a valuable email. Like, we're only like 50 words into the email, but John is already giving us really valuable information that's already starting to shift our beliefs. Because a lot of people still believe, and I still believe this, I want to believe that the best way to convince people or to persuade people is through facts. Like, if I want to convince someone of doing something, I just bring up 3 to 5 proof points that I consider to be the best proof points I could. I have a very strong scientific method way of thinking, but it's very hard to accept that most people do not work like this. In fact, if you bring up truth points or proof points that basically, or evidence that goes counter to most people's beliefs, they're going to be even more defensive about it. Just look at the pro-vaccine versus anti-vaccine argument or something like that. It is what it is. But John is definitely a very grizzled, he's a veteran entrepreneur, copywriter, and marketer, and he doesn't, he just gives it to you like straight up. This is reality. And then he also gives like a preemptive objection handling element, because some people might, I don't know why, but some people might associate this whole thing to religion only. But he says it's not only about religion. I'm talking about everyday beliefs, like why Walmart's prices are lower, how hospitals make their money, where geese fly off to for the winter, and why Aunt Maid never married. So again, a few specific examples intertwined with humor elements as well. This makes his copy very memorable, and that's one of the cornerstone elements of John's style. Then he continues, humans loathe unsettled questions, and they will latch on to whatever makes sense to them, even if it's nonsense, rather than go another second feeling out of the loop. And this is again an unfortunate truth of how human like the human mind works. We need to have some sort of belief structure, and that's what makes us comfortable. Like it gives us comfort, it gives us mental security. And if you're a copywriter or a marketer or a business owner who wants to sell something, you need to understand this, because your messaging also has to take this into consideration. Otherwise, it's not going to work, or it's not going to work well. Notice specific words that John uses here. For example, will latch onto whatever makes sense. They will latch onto whatever makes sense to them. He doesn't use the word believe again or something like that. Latch onto. It's much more visual. And again, this is a great example of showing instead of telling, which is a core lesson in copywriting. So let's continue. And even if you've never studied if you've never studied urban legends, you're in for a treat. Just Google it. Again, it's a great example of educating people while also providing entertainment in a sense, because it showcases John's unique personality that people dig. But here's the best part. All of this is primo material for you to connect with your prospects over. So this relates to copy. So this is the transition that takes this mini tangent, this, I wouldn't call it a story, but like this rant in a sense, and connects it to copy. So hey, if human minds work like this and you can't change this, at least try to use it for your own benefit. And then the email gives a specific advice, a really important point, by saying it doesn't matter if something you know your prospect believes is true or not, you're finding common ground to start a deeper conversation. Getting that first, yeah, I heard about that response is like wedging your foot in the door. Again, very visual, wedging your foot in the door. It's not like just, that's the key to persuading them, but like effectively wedging your foot in the door. It's much more visual. And as I'm saying this, you can definitely imagine it. But this is very specific advice. Like, hey, if you can't fix this, at least try to start your conversation with your prospect based on their beliefs. And that's why a lot of financial promotions or other promotions always have a common enemy. And that's why, again, tying back to today's topic, having a pretext for an invasion or something like that always has a common enemy, always has like some sort of scapegoat or something like that. Never in the history of humanity a real, tyrant invaded someone else by saying that, yes, I'm gonna invade you. There was always some sort of pretext or belief or something saying like, we're just protecting ourselves, or we are, we want to bring peace to someone else, or we're just bringing over peacekeeping forces, or we just want to, stop some sort of other bigger problem or something like that. There's always a narrative like this, and that's why it works as propaganda or as copywriting. But the big difference is how ethically you use it. And there are a lot of bro marketers, for example, who write sales copy about supplements especially, or financial promotions, or weight loss, or something like that uses fake stories, and it always has like a very overdone common enemy, unfortunately. So then the email continues, rookie copywriters like to bowl readers over with facts and data and science. Yawn. These are humans you're selling to, not robots, humans. Reality is very subjective, and by the time your prospect gets past his internal obstacle course of flawed info, emotional reactions, and knee-jerk denial, your precious facts will get ambushed and slaughtered as efficiently as a 30s era mob hit. Wow. I'm getting shivers from reading this. And this is what makes John Carlton so unique and so amazing. It's like he takes a concept, he has the skills to paint it very visually, and then he basically gives you a metaphor, a very visual metaphor, which again, it's a very strong way to persuade someone. By saying something like, your precious facts will get ambushed and slaughtered as efficiently as a 30s era mob hit. It's not like your message is going to bomb or your message is not going to work, but very specifically said like this. It's very powerful, different and punchy, and it definitely builds a lot of emotional rapport with people who are reading this. And also these three things like flawed info, emotional reactions, and knee-jerk denial, these are all things that are true when it comes to shifting someone's beliefs. And that's why you have to work extra hard in your copy, often in your emails, to shift their beliefs. Because if they have false beliefs about something, they believe that they cannot lose weight because they have bad genes or something, it doesn't make sense to pitch your product because they're just not going to believe your claims. You have to shift enough of their beliefs by bringing up a narrative about a common enemy or a story or like the discovery story behind the mechanism of your product or something like that. Because otherwise they're just not going to care. And I know that this is very advanced copywriting stuff, but it's super important, and hopefully if you're watching this video you understand what I'm talking about. I know it's a little advanced for some people, but bear with me because it's important. So at this point, we're at the end of the email actually. So the next we have this part, which is basically a condensed version of the truth. It says, real persuasion occurs in the murky soup of people's ancient, mostly unconscious belief systems. Timid efforts ain't gonna cut it. Bold and even spectacularly wacky beliefs trump crunchy facts every time. So this is the biggest takeaway. Bold and even spectacularly wacky beliefs trump crunchy facts every time. So yeah, it's like, there's always a bunch of conspiracy theories and people in cults out there which sound spectacularly wacky to most people, but they still seem much more real to those people because in their entire internal minds, it's something that validates their pre-existing beliefs, often tied to some sort of paranoid tendencies or something like that. There's a whole psychology behind this. I'm not going to get into it, but we studied about this a lot during my psychology studies, and my wife's a therapist, so we often talk about things like this, but it's true. It's true. Like that's why belief shifting is such a central part of copywriting. So at this point, we're transitioning to the sign-off, just something to keep in mind as you explore persuasion expertise. So as you can see, as I read you this email, we already learned so much from this, and it's just like 300 words. Then John says, stay frosty, which is a very unique, memorable sign-off, John. And then we have the PS, which has two parts. The first part introduces an opportunity, and the second part is basically just a soft pitch. So the opportunity says, finally, learning the insider secrets of how top salesmen close the deal can change your professional life overnight. So this is kind of like a new opportunity, tying the whole message of the email to one of his products. And then he says, finally, great. And interestingly, he doesn't say a great, but great and super inexpensive place to make sure you've got access to all the good stuff is right here. And you don't know what this is exactly, so it has a lot of curiosity, but it's probably the Marketing Rebels Insiders Club, which is like a membership product membership subscription that John is a big part of. So yeah, that's it for the email. I think it's a great example of a nurturing email, a belief-shifting nurturing email. That's what I'm going to call it, actually. And hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you're going to, just look over the fact that I ranted over various things during this video. Hopefully you don't mind it, but it's something that's on my mind right now, and it unsettles me. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, share this video with others if you want as well. And also, if you want to learn more about emails, I have a cool little mini course called The 5 Principles of Sending Rainmaker Emails. It's a 5-day mini course that's going to teach you the best foundational principles of email copywriting. So definitely check it out. It's free. You're also going to get a bunch of other cool stuff when you subscribe to that. And then let's stay in touch. See you tomorrow.